Oscar Piastri didn't lose the Hungarian Grand Prix because of one mistake. He lost it because three separate failures collided within just a few laps, and the television cameras barely showed the most important one: a controversial blue flag incident, a split-second McLaren strategy decision, and a gearbox failure combined to destroy what should have been a certain victory. But the FIA's newly released evidence has exposed a far more uncomfortable truth. Oscar Piastri arrived in Hungary already carrying the weight of a brutal 2026 campaign. Mechanical failures in Melbourne and China had wrecked his momentum, while McLaren's delayed development program left both drivers chasing Mercedes and Ferrari for much of the season. Then, after benefiting from Lewis Hamilton's grid penalty, Piastri produced a sensational opening lap, sweeping past Lando Norris into the lead with a move that instantly transformed him from underdog into the favorite for victory. It looked like the perfect redemption story, but there was a catch. What the teams aren't telling us is that the decisive moment wasn't actually the collision with Carlos Sainz. It was everything happening around it. Hidden radio messages, McLaren's strict pit stop protocol, FIA telemetry, and an overlooked explanation from the stewards revealed that the race was already turning into a political minefield long before Piastri exploded over team radio. So, was this simply terrible luck, or did one chain of decisions quietly hand victory to Norris before anyone realized it? Before we move on, make sure to smash that like button and hit subscribe so you never miss out on any of our latest videos. Because once we break down the FIA telemetry, McLaren's hidden strategy calls, and the evidence the TV broadcast completely missed, this Hungarian Grand Prix story becomes even more unbelievable. The first thing almost everyone focused on after the race was Oscar Piastri's furious outburst. His radio message instantly became the headline, "Is he stupid or what? Get out of the way, you idiot." It was raw, emotional, and completely unfiltered. But if you only watch that clip, you miss the bigger picture. That radio transmission was the explosion, not the bomb. The fuse had already been burning for more than 30 laps. To understand why, we need to go back to the opening lap. Piastri's launch wasn't simply aggressive, it fundamentally changed McLaren's strategic playbook. Starting third after Lewis Hamilton's post-qualifying penalty, he attacked turn 1 with commitment, positioned his car perfectly through turn 2, and forced Lando Norris onto the dusty outside line. That single move earned him track position at one of Formula One's hardest circuits for overtaking. At the Hungaroring, track position is everything. Modern Formula One cars lose enormous aerodynamic performance when following another car through medium-speed corners. Dirty air overheats the tires, reduces front-end grip, and limits exit traction. Unless there is a significant tire offset or a major pace advantage, overtaking becomes an exercise in frustration rather than execution. McLaren knew this. That is precisely why Andrea Stella never instructed Norris to attack his teammate. Despite Norris repeatedly telling race engineer Will Joseph that he was miles faster and could build a massive gap, the pit wall refused to interfere. This wasn't indecision, it was policy. McLaren's so-called Papaya rules had already become one of the defining political stories of the previous season. The principle is simple. Whoever earns the lead on track keeps priority unless there is an overwhelming championship or strategic reason to intervene. Piastri had earned that lead fairly, and that mattered. It meant the first strategic weapon, the undercut, belonged to him. Then another threat appeared not from Norris, but from Lewis Hamilton. Ferrari had already committed to an earlier stop, creating exactly the scenario every strategist fears. Fresh tires against an aging race leader. Even though Hamilton wasn't directly fighting for victory at that moment, his pace created a dangerous undercut window. McLaren's response was immediate: pit Piastri first. Notice what this tells us. The team wasn't choosing between Piastri and Norris, they were choosing between protecting first place or risking losing both cars to Ferrari. Andrea Stella later confirmed exactly that. Once Hamilton reached the critical undercut range, McLaren believed the race leader deserved protection. Strategically, it was the obvious decision. Technically, it was also correct. The numbers supported it. When Piastri entered the pits, he rejoined still ahead, preserving the race lead by several seconds. On paper, the strategy had worked perfectly. Except Formula One races are never won on paper. They're won in traffic, and traffic is where everything began to unravel. Andrea Stella doubled down on exactly that philosophy after the race. Oscar earned the lead. Oscar deserved priority. Lando earned the lead later through pace and circumstance. Lando deserved to keep it. Whether fans agree or not, McLaren applied the same rule at both stages of the race. That is politically important because McLaren has spent the last 2 years trying to erase accusations that one driver receives preferential treatment. One inconsistent decision in Hungary would have destroyed that credibility overnight. Instead, Stella accepted the criticism. He defended the process, not the outcome. And that distinction matters. Now compare McLaren's approach with Mercedes. Mercedes has built much of its 2026 success around ruthless operational efficiency. When Kimi Antonelli or George Russell receive a strategy call, hesitation is almost non-existent. Every decision is calculated around maximizing championship points. McLaren, meanwhile, is trying to balance two objectives that naturally conflict: win races and treat both drivers equally. That sounds admirable. It is also incredibly difficult because Formula One is rarely fair. Every unexpected safety car, every back marker, every blue flag, and every mechanical issue creates situations that no handbook can perfectly predict. Hungary exposed exactly how fragile that balancing act really is. Then came the final blow. Just as Piastri tried to recover, another radio message arrived. "I lost the gearbox." 3 words. Season. Changing consequences. Until that moment, Piastri still had opportunities to limit the damage. A podium remained realistic. Valuable championship points were still available. The gearbox failure erased all of them. The retirement also triggered a virtual safety car, handing Norris yet another strategic advantage by allowing him to complete a pit stop with dramatically reduced time loss. Sometimes Formula One almost feels cruel in its timing. Everything that could possibly go wrong did. And this is where the championship picture becomes even darker. Piastri has now suffered multiple scoreless weekends through no shortage of speed. Mechanical failures, operational setbacks, and incidents outside his control have steadily pushed him down the standings. Instead of fighting Mercedes at the top, he now enters the summer break sitting 7th with only 92 points. Compare that with championship leader Kimi Antonelli on 219. That isn't merely a gap, it's an entirely different championship. Meanwhile, Norris closes the weekend with renewed momentum. McLaren finally celebrates its first victory of the season, and confidence inside Woking begins to shift dramatically. One driver's nightmare becomes another driver's launchpad. Perhaps the most uncomfortable statistic of all isn't the retirement. It's that Piastri hasn't stood on the top step of the podium since Zandvoort almost a year ago. Despite repeatedly showing race-winning pace whenever circumstances allow, speed has never been the question. Execution, and increasingly fortune, has. So, is Hungary simply a perfect storm of bad luck, or did it expose just how razor-thin McLaren's fairness philosophy really is when a championship hangs in the balance? And with the FIA now revealing why Carlos Sainz escaped the standard penalty, has this controversy truly been settled, or has it only created even bigger questions? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more in-depth Formula One investigations.